Hello, everyone. On this podcast episode, I'm going to talk about the rules again and how this world works. A couple episodes ago, I talked about the rule using the analogy of computers. I talked about the world using the analogy of computers. Now I'm going to tell you that this world can't create itself. And I'm going to show you why I believe that and why this is the truth. This world is a world governed by rules. It's a world governed by scientific laws and principles. And scientific laws are nothing more than logical rules. Rules that everyone in the world must follow. Well, guess what? Rules can never create themselves. Rules can't create themselves. And that's how this world works. Only those untouched by a rule can create a rule. So let me give you an example. The reason a computer programmer can create a computer, right, is because the code, the rules that he creates that the computer must follow does not apply to him. You understand? When a video game developer creates a video game, the rules he set for that video game, right, will never apply to the video game developer. The video game developer is untouched by the rules. That's why the video game developer can create the rules. Only those untouched by the rule can create rules. Only those untouched by rules can create rules. No matter how many laws a human being creates, these laws can never alter reality. They will never be able to change the very foundation of reality. Why? Because the rules that govern reality govern our bodies. We can't change ourselves. We can't create ourselves. You understand? The rules of reality are the things that gave you your body. The laws of nature are the things that give you your body. They make up your body. They control your body. These rules govern you, so you can never touch them. You can never create them. You can never alter them, unless it has given you the option to alter them. Only when the rule gives you an option can you change the rule. But changing the rule is still part of the rules. The exception to the rules of life are still part of the rules of life. Now I'll use the same example again. There's a rule that states that an object in motion always stays in motion. But there's one exception. An object in motion always stays in motion, but until it is stopped. The exception to the rule is still the rule. An object in motion will always stay in motion until an exception pops up, until it is stopped. But that exception is still part of the rules. The exception to the rule is still part of the rule. And that's how this world works. And that's what you need to understand. Humans cannot change the rules of this world, but the rules can change humans. A video game character cannot change the rules of the video game, but the video game can change the rules that govern the character. A video game cannot change the rules that govern its programmer, but the programmer can change the rules that govern the video game. No matter how many rules or laws a video game creates, it'll never affect its developer, ever. Why? Because the developer is untouched by the rules created by the video game. That's why the developer can create the video game. You understand? For this world to exist, something untouched by the rules of this world must exist. This world cannot exist by itself. Something untouched by the rules of this world must first create the rules of this world. Rules don't just pop up by themselves. And this world is filled with rules. This world is filled with scientific facts, scientific laws, scientific rules, scientific principles. The laws of gravity, that's a rule. The laws of thermodynamics, those are rules. The laws that govern physics, those are laws, those are rules. The laws that govern your body, the biological laws, those are rules. Those are logical rules. Duality is a rule. Math, the rules that governs math. The rules that governs logic. There are rules that governs intelligence. There are rules that governs how atoms behave, how cells behave, how DNA behaves, how humans behave, how life behaves. There are rules that governs every single thing in this world. And these rules are untouchable by the people or the things created by the rules. We can't change the rules. The rules cannot change themselves. And the beings created by the rules cannot change themselves. The only thing we can create, the only things we can change are things that we create. We can only create rules that do not apply to us. We can only create worlds that have rules that do not apply to us. The rules that apply to us cannot be changed by us, cannot be created by us. The rules can never create themselves. The rules can never alter themselves. Only someone untouched by the rules can create the rules. Only someone untouched by the laws of this world, the scientific laws of this world, can create the scientific laws of this world. That means there's a being that's responsible for creating the rules of this world, because the rules of this world can exist on their own, and that being is God. And that's what you need to know. God created the rules of this world, so God is untouched by the rules of this world, and God is untouchable by the rules of this world. No matter how many rules a computer creates, those rules will never affect the developer that created that computer. They just can't. The developer creates the rules. The developer governs the rules. The rules will never govern the developer. The rules will never control the developer. And that's what you need to know. God is above all rules. That's why God can create rules. And these rules have to be created. Rules do not exist on their own. Logic is not something that just comes out of nowhere. It has to be created. Just like a computer. Just like a video game. A video game must first be created before it can exist. But the only thing that can create a video game is something that's not bound by the rules of the video game. All the rules of this world, God is not bound by it. So when you think of God, you must know that God is not bound by any rules. That's why God can create the rules. That means if you're wondering what created God, right? Many people wonder, if God created the world, then what created God? You're thinking illogically. Why? Because God is the creator of the rules. And logically, the creator of the rules can't be bound by the rules. Creation itself is part of the rules of this world. It's part of the logic and it's part of the logic of this world. This is a world of duality. If there's creation, there's destruction. If there's a beginning, there must be an end. If there's a left, there must be a right. If there's a past, there must be a future. If there's something small, something large must exist. If there's something on the inside, something must also be on the outside. If there's one thing, there must also be many. If something finite exists, something infinite must also exist. That's how duality works. If something positive exists, something negative must also exist. If something cold exists, something hot must also exist. These are the laws of this world. These are the rules of our world. These are what governs our world. Our world is a world of duality, of two equal and opposite aspects. If you find one aspect of the world, its equal and opposite must also be there. If something exists, something must also not exist. But remember, these laws, these aspects, these rules do not apply to God. The word creation doesn't apply to God. The word destruction doesn't apply to God. God is beyond these words. That's why God can create them. A video game developer is beyond the video game. That's why he can create the video game. A computer programmer can never be controlled by the rules of that computer. That's why he can create the computer. God is not bound by the rules of creation and destruction. That's why God can create creation itself and destruction. God is not bound by the rules of existence and non-existence. That's why God can create existence and non-existence. God is not bound by the rules of this world. God is not bound by the logic that governs this world. That's why God can create the logic that governs this world. Only the rulers can create rules because they're not bound by it. And that's what you need to understand. The rules can never create themselves. Only something that's not bound by the rules can create the rules. So that's it for today's podcast episode. I pray for everyone's safety and understanding. Amen.